Hi, and welcome to MindShifters Radio with the Forgiveness Doctor, Dr. Michael Rice. Our call-in number is 646-200-4169. Press 1 to talk to Michael. And we're waiting on Julie to call back in. We were working with her yesterday on a worksheet, and we asked her to call back in today so we could finish it. So as soon as she calls back in, we will turn her on. And today is our Memorial Day celebration 282. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, sweetie. Welcome, everybody, to the show. We're delighted to have you with us and delighted to have this opportunity to share the tool of Aramaic forgiveness with everyone. And when Jean mentions Memorial Day celebration or the honoring of Memorial Day, what we're talking about is the fact that it's time for us as human beings to put an end to war, to complete the cycle of insanity that has governed the planet for too long, to end the rule of non-human life on planet Earth and bring back actual human life, which is, if you've never really considered it, hold a newborn child, you know exactly what a human life is. It is that awesome, active presence of love that we are designed to be. And so we invite you to call in. Our phone number is 646-200-4169. And our invitation is for each person who participates in the show on a daily basis to enter into the process of forgiveness, which is the process of removing from this body-mind unit the hostilities and fears that the world has impinged upon us and returning back to our actual human lives, what we're designed to function as, which is this awesome presence of love. The tool for doing that is called forgiveness, and we invite you to engage in the process of forgiveness. If you're not sure how to do that, then please go to our website. Our website is www.whyagain.com, and on the right side you'll see a link that says Download Worksheets. And the first 5 links will give you the whole story of how forgiveness is done from the ancient Aramaic language, how to change the content of your mind. And if you're capable of producing hostility or fear, and you're willing to become incapable of that, then you'll engage in the forgiveness process, and as you do, you'll change the dynamic of everything happening in your world. So that's what we're here to support you in. And Jean, do we have Dr. Tim? Is David with us? And is Julie with us yet this morning? 541 is Julie's number. Oh, we got 2 541s. Okay. So we'll just see what we've got. Welcome, David. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Nice little breezy day here at Heartland, and it's a beautiful day and quite breezy out today.
Cool. Well, I think Julie's with us, so we're here to chat and to say hello. Julie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. How about you?
I think I am too.
Well, good. Tell us how things are moving. What's the upshot of your experience yesterday with the worksheet process we were doing? And I'll just share with the audience that I had called Julie after the show and asked if she'd be willing to call in and complete that worksheet. I think that the opening was absolutely awesome, and we're delighted that you're here. So tell us what's happening.
Okay, hi. Well, I went through all my notes. I was taking so many notes during yesterday's show, and I did siphon out 8 more worksheets to do, and I felt like there were probably 5 more to do on each one of those. Haven't done them yet. It took me a while to organize, and come out of my kind of fog. Even though there was so much clarity with what you and I had done yesterday, I still had the residual old past stuff that covers it up lingering, kind of hauntingly there. So I cut through that and was able to organize myself. got a lot out of it. I did finish the worksheet. I did go through and finish it. One thing I'd like to say that really helped me keep releasing, because so much was ready to spill forth fast, is I kept a blank notebook next to me, and I just kept writing what came up as it came. Like when tears came, I wrote the tears, and I wrote that I can't see and I feel unconscious, and fear and whatever, and all of that, just so that I wouldn't lose it, because I couldn't do the worksheets that fast. So that was assisting me real well, and I can refer to that when I go back to do the worksheets, I think. So, and at the very end, I felt like my body was going through a lot of tingling and dizziness, nauseousness. I kept wanting to eat. I kept seeing that pattern of eating. I want food, and I had myself set up with an appointment with a naturopathic doctor at 2 o'clock, so I actually had to fast between 11 and 2, California time or Oregon time. So that was really good support to not give in to that. And what else? And I really came at the end of the show yesterday and at the end of reorganizing these sheets that I really want my clarity back. I really want myself back. And then one more thing happened last night. In the middle of the night, somebody banged on the door. I'm staying at a hotel right now, and they just banged really loud and woke me up out of my dream sleep, and then they banged again. So I was awake for at least an hour before I could go to sleep. And I kept trying to, not judge it and extend love and that sort of thing, do a little technique tool. And it wasn't my being it. It was something else trying to do it, and it wasn't working. And I recognized that I don't do love. It needs to just move through me. So I had to surrender and ask Holy Spirit to just bring love to me and restore me to love. I mean, that was the only way it worked. And then I fell asleep just fine. So I do feel that my consciousness, my unconsciousness, is very stirred and ready to do a little more work with you today, and I'm just trusting. I'm just trusting that, it's going to, I trust you and I trust the process, and so I'm ready.
Well, that's awesome. I thought yesterday's show was really just a really powerful start on the process and looking at another level in the worksheets that spun off of what we did. For those who are maybe new to the show today, weren't with us, there's a thing that I call the Hydra effect. And in Greek mythology, there was this creature called the Hydra. When you cut off one head, several other heads would grow out of that one head that had been cut off. And it was symbolic, I believe, of an understanding that underlying what appears to be an issue, there are 1,000 other issues. There are 1,000 things contributing to it. And one of the things that the worksheet process does is empowers us to drill down into those other things so that the part of the mind or parts of the mind that are never looked at, that are never seen, never confronted, all of a sudden are available. And, of course, when you bring it to awareness, you have the opportunity to do something about it. Well, it resides at an unconscious level. It's something that just continues to run and run and run. And, in the ancient scriptures, that unconscious mind, we couldn't translate the word until the unconscious was rediscovered just a few decades ago in the West. The word heart was never translatable. And when they said, you must forgive from your heart the wrongs of your brother, that was not a bleeding heart statement. They were saying you have to go into your own unconscious mind, the place where you generate these images of others being the problem in your life, and you forgive, that is, you remove from your heart the wrongs of your brother, what you took that's inside of you that's causing your pain, that you've denied and dissociated from, you make pictures out of. And the pictures, of course, are always about somebody else. Somebody else is the problem in my life. And so when they said you must forgive from your heart the wrongs of your brother, they were saying you had to go into your own dissociated state and remove what never belonged. one of the conversations that we got into yesterday was about the money changers in the temple. And I'd like to just kind of speak a little bit about that to fill in that understanding a little more. That was a way in the ancient language of speaking of a law of physics that's called the perpetual transmutation of radiant energy, which sounds like a real mouthful. But what the perpetual transmutation of radiant energy says is that energy exists and energy changes from form to form when there's something to transmute it into another form. So, for instance, if you look at the power lines that run over your house, those power lines may source from a 26,000 volt system, and there's a transformer, and that transformer drops the 26,000 volts down to maybe 6,000 volts, and so we have a change. What appeared to be fixed 24,000 volt power is now 6,000 volts. It'll go through another transformer, and that 6,000 will become 240. It will go through another transformer that takes it into your house, and that will drop it down to 110, or you'll divide it up and you'll have 240 volts into 110 or 120 volt legs. So each of those is a transmutation. And then you plug your cell phone into a little device that plugs into the wall, and gee, the cell phone operates on 5 volts. How do we get from 26,000 volts to 5 volts? Well, it's called the perpetual transmutation of radiant energy. So it goes through a series of transformations, and that was symbolized, speaking of that transmutation that takes place, was symbolized in the ancient scriptures by the story of the money changers in the temple. And of course, the temple is not about a concrete building out there. The temple is your own physiology. And if you have transmuters of energy that change that which is neutral, which is just an event in the world, into something painful for you, then you have inside of you a money changer. And when Yeshua was talking about kicking the money changers out of the temple, he was saying that you've got to go inside of yourself and delete or remove, forgive those things that never belonged in you, that take a neutral event and turn it into hatred or fear or terror. And, you look at any particular event, and if a dozen people are observing, you'll have a dozen different realities, each one looking through a different transmuter within themselves. So somebody looks at an event, and one person goes into rage because they have a transmuter that takes that event, triggers the brain cells of rage, and so that shift, that money changer in that person's temple, puts them into a rage, and they, living in denial, say, well, that really enrages me when he does that. And somebody else watches exactly the same behavior, and their money changer or their transmuter is that of fear, and so they go into terror, and they say, boy, that guy really terrorizes me when he says that. And somebody else looks at it and goes, oh, man, I've been through that 1,000 times. That's nothing. That's a joke, and they laugh. So they've got a different money changer in their temple, and they can laugh at what other people are terrorized about and enraged about. And so there's a wonderful statement from a 13th century Sufi mystic, Rumi. And what Rumi says, and here's the master transmuter, here's the transmuter that is human life. And he says, all pain in the presence of love becomes medicine. And so one of the things we call forward in the worksheet is the actual active presence of love. And when that active presence of love is there, that begins to transmute all of the money changers that keep us in a hostile, fearful state. It brings them into change. It brings them into a literal transmutation. And it is the way you get those money changers out of your own temple. Otherwise, people are controlled by what goes on around them. Another example of this transmutation is, the sun is shining, it's beautiful today, and that sun hits a leaf of a plant. The plant absorbs the sunlight, and it transmutes it into chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is identical to blood in the human, except that in the center of the chlorophyll molecule, there's a molecule of magnesium, and in the human blood, there's a molecule of iron, the only difference. So the plant transmutes sunlight into chlorophyll. You put it into your body, and your body creates a transmutation and turns it into blood, and is a blood cleanser. The blood, of course, transmutes energy. It picks up oxygen. It picks up nutrients. It moves it throughout the structure. The structure absorbs the nutrients, absorbs the oxygen. The blood cell, now oxygen-rich, gives off its oxygen, begins to absorb carbon dioxide, takes it to the lungs where another transmutation takes place, and you breathe out carbon dioxide, and all of a sudden you've removed acid because the sun shone on a leaf that created chlorophyll. And that becomes energy in your body. So now you're living off of the sun's energy through the chlorophyll molecule that fed and cleansed your blood and strengthened you. And now you've got the energy to ride a bicycle. So now sunlight is powering your bicycle when you start really looking at these transmutations of energy. And of course, someone who's riding along on their bicycle, cancel the thought, runs into a tree, there's an impact, and the energy that was kinetic energy of the bicycle and this person moving hits a solid object like a tree, and another energy is absorbed and radiated back into the cell, and the cell now contains an energy that doesn't belong there. It's called a disease energy, creates a distortion in the cell, and that distortion in the cell creates inflammation, and all of a sudden we've got cellular disease and cellular degeneration. And so the whole idea of the ancient process of forgiveness is to learn what belongs in your structure and keep it there, and what does not belong in your structure to remove it. And nobody told us that that forgiveness was about removing content from our minds, and that's what we're here to share with everyone, that that's what the whole process is about, and that the master cleanser of all toxicity and the things that don't belong within our human structures is the awesome active presence of a human life, which is love. And we have two choices. We can live in either that hostility or fear that has been going on from generation to generation, which is nothing more than another transmutation of energy. Someone goes into rage, and that rage is stored in the cell holographically, including the sperm and the egg. If it's passed on to the next generation, then that next generation it wonders why it rages or why it does certain things. And all of these energetic patterns, until we wake up from them, tend to control us. And they are the root and the source of our dis-ease processes. When we become conscious, we have the opportunity, as Julie was so willing to do yesterday, to step into those places in us that hold these money changers within us and start to investigate bringing the presence of love to create another transmutation, to take that which never belonged in a human system designed for love, that based in hostility and fear, thoughts that create those energies of hostility and fear, and to remove those and to shift them around by bringing them to awareness in the presence of a space of love and literally creating another transmutation. So we're talking about an energetic process here, and that's what we're inviting everyone into. And Julie did some awesome work yesterday. If you didn't get to be on the show, then you might want to tap in and listen to the archive when we're finished here, and it will fill in a lot of blanks for just where it is we're going with Julie and what it is that we're doing. So Julie, I acknowledge you for your willingness to face some of your money changers. In other cultural languages, those things are called demons. Those things inside of us that we've never wanted to look at, never wanted to face down, and never wanted to deal with. And the truth is, it's all based in thought. If you go to the original Aramaic language in the opening words in the book of John, where we're told it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh." In Aramaic, what it says is, "In the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh." And literally, there's a transmutation when we think a thought. That transmutation turns the thought into a molecule that's called a neuropeptide. the neuropeptide circulates around in our structure until it finds a cell with a receptor site that matches, and that cell where that neuropeptide lands now creates another transmutation, literally creates what's called a chemical in the cell that is a replicate or a copy of the mind energy that sourced it. So the mind energy of rage and fear and grief and pain creates literal cellular chemistry, and the human cell, not designed for those things, begins to self-destruct because of that transmutation. And when we come out of denial, we can start to uncover those things, and Julie did an awesome job. We started with one worksheet, and how many was it you came up with, Julie, that we finally ended up with? Was it 7? Did you say?
I came up with 8.
8. So we had, so we went through, and the Hydra effect came up with 8 different worksheets to do, and we tapped into the goal. Julie, do you want to just kind of, so that anybody who wasn't on the show, if you would, just kind of read through, the worksheet was on yourself, and just kind of share with us quickly the first couple of steps. What happened? What were your feelings? What was the thought, the punishment? Go ahead.
Yeah, would you like me to also maybe just read the number 1A of each of the worksheets, like the starting worksheet and then the 8 that followed, or not?
Sure, go for it. Yeah, that would catch everybody.
Okay, yeah. So the first one started, and I had asked you yesterday, please help set me up to get started on this. So you suggested put yourself in 1A, and 1B was I sabotage myself. I don't keep my commitment to myself. Okay, and a whole lot came from that. The first one that came from that was my tendency to go unconscious, feel nauseous, fear of punishment, and my body's tense. That's just what I got down for number 2. Number 3, I'm addicted to roles that I've adopted from my power persons, both mother and father, that would be. Was that number 2?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Be a little more organized. Okay, number 3. No, that was number 3, the power person. Number 4, I can't see with clarity. That was a really big one for me. Number 5, I make excuses by telling myself a lie that it's okay, I love you anyway, which is fake forgiveness. I'm hiding a lot of rage from myself, more than I'm willing to admit. That's number 6. Number 7, I'm immobilized by my rage, and I use it as an excuse to avoid my work. And number 8, I keep all discomfort at a distance. So those are what happened for me.
Okay, so now if you look from the point of view of the explanation, the setup we just did now at that idea of, which sounds like a real mouthful, the perpetual transmutation of radiant energy, an event happens, and what happens at the dissociated level of the mind? When I'm in denial and I don't want to look at any of those things, I keep that stuff dissociated. And so under the surface, psychology tells us that we may get to see, if we're lucky, up to 5% of our internal processes. So what you've just tapped into is 8 transmuters of energy, 8 money changers, that out of that one event of not keeping your commitment to yourself, all these things go on the unconscious level and create cellular degeneration, create pain and trauma that's totally and completely outside of awareness. And this is what creates the stress and strain in our world that causes people to get, as crazy as our world has become. And they have no idea that all of that literal transmutation of energy is happening under the surface. And as you go in and forgive around each of those issues, and basically what Julie just shared was the Hydra effect. We tapped into 8 different worksheets as we started on that one. And when we did that, and if you want to listen in to yesterday's show, we did that by listening to her language. If you really pay attention to your words and your language, what you'll notice is that your words will tell you what those automatic transmuters are doing under the surface. When I say to myself, Charlie called me and he said he wasn't going to take me to dinner like he promised, but I'm not angry about that. If I listen to my words, Shakespeare says, my words fly up, my thoughts remain below. My words represent my thoughts that I choose to remain unconscious of. And so now, under the surface, is that anger that I deny and dissociate from and pretend isn't there. But on a cellular level, it's a disorder in the cell. And so your willingness, Julie, yesterday to just pop right in and tap into those things and go for that number of worksheets is awesome. And that's how the ancient Aramaic process of forgiveness works. And this whole worksheet, the reality management sheet, if you're listening to the show and you don't have a copy of it, you can go to our website, which is www.whyagain.com. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says Download Worksheets. And there are the second link. There are 5 different links in particular related to this worksheet, but the second link is the actual worksheet itself, if you want to jump on your computer and get a copy of it. And we'll be posting these shows. A 6th and 7th link under the forgiveness process will be yesterday and today's show to share these tools. So, Julie, we got down to the point. So you've given us those 8 worksheets, the Hydra effect. And now in number 1C, now that you've looked at yourself, the worksheet subject yourself, and that you don't keep your commitments to yourself, then what was the feeling that you uncovered, which would be number 1C?
Okay. And this was in the number 1 worksheet that we did yesterday, right? I sabotage myself. I don't keep my commitment to myself. Okay. It was guilt and shame, and when I drew the picture of my feelings, dullness and bleakness.
Okay. So then that would be a place when you look at those feelings. If everybody's looking at your worksheets in number 1C, my mind tells me that I, he, she, it, they cause me to feel, and then the suggestion is use a separate sheet of paper for each feeling. So I would say that there are 4 more worksheets. You've got your primary one, which the main feeling you'd have around that, if you were to put it here, I think was guilt yesterday. But then the dullness, shame, they would be other worksheets. So you'd flip in, you'd just jot in the situation, I'm sabotaging myself, and the feeling shame, and then another worksheet, I sabotage myself, the feeling of dullness. And what was the 4th one?
Bleak.
And then the 4th one would be another worksheet where your feeling is being bleak. And each of those relate to different thoughts related to this primary sheet. So what you're doing is drilling down into that dissociated mind, into what the ancients called the heart, because that's where the issues come from that we keep ourselves held back from. And when we can bring those forward into conscious awareness, the ancient name of the conscious mind was the alter, A-L-T-E-R, where you can alter or change an unconscious dynamic. And as long as those things remain under the surface, of course, they're not changeable. You're stuck with them because there's no way to change them or create a transmutation if you're not aware of them. So I'd suggest you go ahead and start those 3 other worksheets. And so you'd put in the feeling and the situation, and that would be the starting point, and then you'll set those aside, and we'll go back to the primary worksheet again.
Okay.
So if you want to just kind of quickly go ahead and start those 3.
One thing that was real valuable to one of the people here in Ashland mentioned that clarifying in 1C that when it says use a separate sheet for each feeling, that you mean worksheet, that actually can become another worksheet to do that stems off of the primary.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So people told me yesterday in my own community here that they really appreciated the show. It clarified a lot how to do the worksheet. So
I think it was an awesome show. I am in much appreciation over your willingness to do what you did yesterday, and then to come back on the show today and to take it to the next level is fabulous. It's just it's a gift to the whole community. Thank you.
And then really valuable. Yes, thank you too. We do it together, right? We go together.
That's it. You know, if you want to, that African proverb, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Absolutely.
So
cool. Then let's look at the on your primary worksheet. Then number 1D was the thought, and the thought that was behind that feeling of guilt.
Let's see. Pointing out. Okay, I wrote down avoidance, being cut off, and okay, that's it. Just avoidance. I don't know. I didn't really write a good thought there, I guess. I must have come up with a note. I guess the thought I might...
If you look at the thought that causes the guilt, you know, feelings are simply shadows of thoughts. Feelings reflect thoughts.
Okay,
so if you let yourself tap in,
it would be
thought...
The thought that I'm failing and not keeping up and missing the boat.
Okay. So then if you jot those down in number 1D then, so I'm not keeping up, missing the boat.
I'm not keeping up. I'm failing, I put in there.
Failing. Yeah, it sounds like the bottom line is one of those old realities that a lot of us were fed about ourselves as kids, and that is we're failures, which of course is a lie.
Failing to keep my power persons happy, and I've been listening to the DVD of your workshop on codependence to interdependence too, so that's been helpful.
So here's the Hydra effect again. If you listen to your words, here's another place where there's a piece of work related to this that helps to keep this unconscious, and that is I'm supposed to keep my power person happy. So how about starting another worksheet and name who your power person is?
Okay,
and then down to number 3 on that worksheet, and you've got the goal. I'm supposed to keep my power person happy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
You know, what's happened to me and in my groups that I'm supporting and guiding, we're all, of course, it's a reflection, but, you know, we're in this habit of, I'm in this habit of creating some sort of lofty goal that I'm obsessed with, and then, of course, failing to achieve it. So I'm wanting us to get to the deeper things, and what you're showing me right now is that the goal just naturally arises. It's something that I've been holding. It's not try to invent a new one. It's something that's been there. Yes.
Yeah, the whole idea of the worksheet is to identify the goals that are driving the perceptual mind. The goal is literally a driver. You know, we talk about in the workshop, Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop, which is what this worksheet comes from. We talk about the whole idea that, you know, there's some Harvard research that says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells fire, the maximum amount of information that goes into conscious awareness is 9 bits of data. So something has to select out of 10,000 brain cells firing which 9 bits of data are going to be organized into perception and how that's going to look. You know, one of the things in the Course in Miracles that a really powerful line in the Course says, perception is a skill made up by you to avoid what the Creator gave you in creation, which is this awesome active presence of love. And that's what perception does, and it's driven by goals. And so the core of the healing process is to look at the goals that you hold, that you use to drive your perceptual mind. And then we're going to show you what to do with those goals. So yes, it's really becoming conscious of perhaps 1,000 generations of goals that need to be reviewed. And once you load a goal into mind, it creates a stress, and once that stress is created, there are only two ways to alleviate it. One is you either cancel the goal, which is forgiveness. In the Aramaic language, the word shabag is what's been translated as forgive. You either cancel the goal or you achieve the goal. Otherwise, the stress remains. And that's why people are so overwhelmed with stress. They have, like you just uncovered, a goal from a 5-year-old child of, I need to keep my power person happy in order to survive. And if that goal is still driving under the surface, anybody that shows up that resembles in any way, shape, or form our power person, we'll go right back to that goal, and we'll say, well, why am I doing this what's going on here, and why am I in such terror and fear? You didn't do anything. Or maybe I'll project something that I hallucinate that you did in order to justify my feelings toward you, when what I'm really dealing with is a goal of a 5-year-old who thought that it was survival, that it was life and death if they didn't please their power person. And so getting to the root of those goals and really allowing yourself the space to drill down into these things that literally are drivers for perception, that really cause our minds to hallucinate all sorts of things that never happened.
Thank you.
So then the punishment thought that you came up with yesterday was?
Well, so I want to punish them by avoidance and pointing out their guilt and hostility. And myself, it would be that then the way I punish myself is I succumb or surrender to getting along with them and compromise myself. 2 more worksheets, 3 more, 4.
There you go. Nice catch. That's it exactly. That's how you build the brain cells for using this tool. Awesome. So make a quick note, and then we went through the step 2 of I choose love. I choose to love truth and willingly face and process out all disease-producing energies from all my relations or generations. I willingly go through the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. So we did that step, and then the goal that we came up with, that was your core goal around this first worksheet, Julie, was?
I just want to remind you, you had me recite verbally the feelings in the box. I wrote the words there, release and surrender, as as a way of clearing out my temple. So that was good. And that helped me breathe. And then so number 3, the goal came, I want to be truly connected and fully committed to myself.
Awesome. Good. And there's the real key in this step is to really look for precisely the constructive result that you want. What is it that you really want out of this situation? And as you let yourself identify that, that's the driver. And when you load that driver into your mind, if that driver links into a file in your mind, a transmuter, a money changer, based in hostility, then this wonderful goal to be true to myself now puts me into a state of hostility, because what it links to is the file on me where I don't deserve the support of myself, quite possibly because I never got it from my power person, or whatever that dynamic is really doesn't matter at this point, but that I hold that goal, and when that goal links to something in my mind or recruits data and builds me a perception based in hostility or fear, I'm in trouble, because now my perception is darkened. If you go to the ancient Aramaic where they said the eye is the lamp of the soul, if the light for you is darkness, how deep will your darkness become? Which, of course, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense in English, but when you go back to the Aramaic, what was said was that the output of your perceptual mind is meant to be flooded and filled and enlightened by the presence of love. If hostility or fear, that is darkness, in Aramaic darkness, They said if darkness is the light, and of course that doesn't make sense that darkness could be the light, but when you realize that if hostility and fear are the energies that are recruited by this goal when you load it into your mind, then the hostility or fear becomes the light or the guide that you follow. So when they said if the light for you is darkness, that is, if hostility or fear is recruited by this goal, then what kind of crazy things will you do to destroy yourself? And as you know, Julie, in the workshop, when Jeannie opens the workshop, she always asks the question, how many have held a newborn child, and then describe the child, and everybody's descriptors are always some variation on the theme of love. And then a second question he asked is how many have ever done something they regret? And the words that describe regret are always, I don't care where we ask this on the planet, they're always some variation on the theme of hostility or fear. People who have hostility or fear recruited in their mind by a goal to build their perception have darkness as their guide, as their light. And that's what he was saying. If darkness for you is the light, then what kind of crazy things will you do? What kind of things will you do that you will regret? So that's an awesome goal to tap into. And you want to make sure, anybody who's listening to the show, you want to make sure that whenever you tap into a goal, you're looking for the constructive result that you want. Not, I don't want them to do this to me again. Okay? So if the word not or don't or any word about avoidance is in step 3, you want to revise and you want to go for what's the constructive result? What's at the root of this issue that you really want? And that's the step that you put in number 3 for a goal. So that's a great one. And then the bottom line of all healing I would offer is that when our human essence, love, is present, it is the master transmuter. As Rumi said, in the presence of love, all pain becomes medicine. So in step 4, you want to tap into and reconnect to that awesome active presence of love in you. And so number 4, and how about just the best way I know to do this is hold a newborn child, look in its face, smile at it, let the smile radiate an energy right up to the frontal lobes of the brain, which is where this center point is, where this activator is, a gateway called Rahma that Yeshua referred to as the first law. And so if you go back and you hear the words saying, love the Creator and neighbor so as to maintain thy human life, for upon this hangs the law and all its prophets. What they were saying was the first order of business is you've got to keep your lights on. You've got to keep this presence of love. And it comes through a filter literally in the frontal lobes of the brain that in Aramaic was called Rahma. They understood these things. And so imagine yourself, Julie, holding the newborn, looking into its eyes and smiling, and allow that smile to warm the frontal lobes of your brain. This turns your lights on. And it sets up a field. It creates a space for anyone connected with what you're working on to also begin to tap into that if they're not already there.
Okay.
And when that active presence of love is in us, whatever of those old transmuters we bring to the surface that are not designed to be there, they automatically and instantly begin to dissolve. That's the whole idea of the forgiveness process. And so we're stirring and moving in that direction, tapping into the active presence of love. And of course, you have a whole community all over the globe right now that are holding that space with you, Julie. And I'll just repeat the rose and the butterfly story because it's so powerful from the Aramaic, or when you look at this Aramaic idea of keeping love present. And imagine that we give a rose and a butterfly an ego. They meet, they fall in love, they have this wonderful time together, but one day the butterfly decides to up and fly away. The rose, knowing that the love of the butterfly is the most important thing in its life, uproots itself to give chase. What's going to happen to the rose? It's obviously going to die. And so when we make any goal that we hold more important than maintaining our human lives, we're in the process of giving up our human lives. And so step 4 is about reclaiming your human life. Your actual original newborn state is identical to every newborn that's ever come into the world, and it is this awesome presence of love. And fortunately, nothing that you've ever done or nothing that's ever happened to you has ever touched that part of you, because it exists in a whole different level of energy, a whole different frequency. So nothing that's ever occurred in your life can touch that newborn essence. And as you dissolve those things that perhaps seem to have covered it up, what reemerges is your human life, is your awesome presence of love. And we're looking at, with each worksheet, and when we suggest somebody do 5 a day for 40 days, what we're inviting them to do is to really key into that presence of love 5 times a day and make that a practice so that it becomes first nature to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now I get it. I get how easy it is to find enough worksheets to do.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah, for people who say, oh, I don't have anything to work on, it's like, right, let me touch the hem of your garment. I believe you. Millions wouldn't, but I believe. So then number 5. 5 is an explanation of the core of the forgiveness process. My reality, made of a max of 9 bits of information out of 10,000 brain cells firing, is a limited picture from my carbon-based memory. And as a result of, or driven by my goal, number 3, it is constructed out of corrupt data. So the point here being that whenever the mind is using hostility or fear to generate its reality, there's a disease process happening in the cell, and it corrupts the data that builds the pictures in the mind. It corrupts the data that literally turn out being our realities that we think are true about everybody but us. And so just acknowledging, if I'm in hostility or fear at this moment, I'm creating something out of corrupt data. And then, to continue the explanation, by canceling my goal, in the Aramaic language, the word forgive is shabag, and it literally translates to cancel. And what the whole forgiveness process has to do with in Aramaic is recognizing that when I'm in some form of hostility or fear, that the driver that I'm using in my mind is what allows me to keep this dissociated part of the mind in a dissociated state, this money changer or this transmuter, keeping me perpetually in some form of hostility or fear. If I can create the space for that transmuter, which works very well in hiding but dissolves in the presence of love, if I can create the space for that to come forward, that is that money changer in me that takes this situation and turns it into rage or grief or fear or whatever, then I create, by the presence of love, a transmutation. So by canceling my goal, my replicate mind's output collapses. And the replicate mind is just that money changer that just goes on and on and on. You know that old song, this is a song that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friend. You ever heard that one? So the replicate mind, once one of those transmuters is in there, once one of those money changers is in there, any situation that even comes close to resonating it, and you're right back to the old feelings, right back to the old thoughts. But if you don't drill down into them and change them, they will control your whole life. Drill down into them, which is what we're ready to do now, and bring them forward in the presence of love, and there's another transmutation of energy that happens. That transmutation that Rumi spoke about. In the presence of love, all pain becomes medicine. So there's a literal energetic shift and change, transmutation of energy that would keep us in negativity and perhaps has kept our generations in negativity for 1,000 generations. And here's where the change takes place. So by canceling my goal, my replicate mind's output collapses and gives me direct contact with the denied and dissociated part of my carbon-based memory, which projects and blames others for its content. That is, it hallucinates. So now the core step in number 5, I choose to collapse my mind's lies by canceling, and we have a reminder there in brackets in Aramaic, shabag, the goal or driver for number 182. So you bring your answer from number 3, your goal, precisely as you had it in 3, and bring it down to number 5. So So how about doing that? Just recopy your goal, and if you would, just share it with us again as you cancel it.
Okay. It's, I want to be truly connected and fully committed to myself.
So now, as I write that, I cancel my goal to be truly committed and fully connected to myself. Which, of course, to the non-being mind, that's ridiculous. Why would I cancel that goal? That's a wonderful goal. It is a wonderful goal. We agree. This isn't about the quality of the goal. The goal is not the problem. It's not that it's got to do with a negative goal or anything else. It's what the goal recruits by the way of content, what transmuters in us it activates. What money changer does this goal activate? You know, you see somebody who's praying for abundance, and they feel like they should be living in poverty, and someone comes along and gives them money, and they become hostile toward that person. Like, yeah, well, what are you trying to treat me like I'm some kind of beggar or something? And that transmuter, here's somebody who's coming, giving them abundance, and that transmuter takes over and takes them right back to the negativity. As you bring that forward in the presence of love, as you expose it by canceling the goal, you collapse the perceptual reality. And when it collapses, you get to drill down into the next level of your mind. So how about canceling that goal, Julie?
Okay. So I choose that.
Good breath.
Oh, you heard it.
Shift. A nice shift in your breath there. That's what we look for in healing. That's what creates that shift in energy. That's the literal money changer being changed when that breath happens.
It's so great that it's that simple to just let it breathe through us and be willing to release.
Oh.
So
how about go ahead and speaking that section.
Okay. I want to be truly connected and fully committed to myself. And I want to
I'm canceling that.
I'm canceling that. And yesterday I actually only said I want to be connected and committed to myself, but I added these little adjectives or adverbs, truly and fully, because I do that to myself. That's I do that.
Cool. Good.
You know, because
okay, so now
in that place of, well, what does truly mean and what does fully mean, and that might never happen because then I might fail. See, so I put those words in because I caught them.
Okay. Cool. So I cancel my need. How about just a whole phrase as a statement of canceling?
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, wait, is that 5A at the bottom of 5A? I cancel my need.
5A. I've taken my answer 3, brought it down to 5, and now I cancel my need for.
I cancel my need for. I don't see those words in the worksheet. I cancel my need for.
Well, I choose to collapse my mind's lies by canceling the goal for number 1A. So that's where you brought your answer 3 down to 5.
I'm canceling my need for the goal that I want to be truly connected and fully committed to myself.
Good, awesome. Okay, and take a breath. Check that little box there. Just check that off. Now, remembering that we've only got a 9-brick processor on a conscious level, you want to bring another level of support in here. And so number 9, 5B, I invite, and there's a blank there for what you choose to call it, and in brackets we have the Aramaic definition of the super processor, or the Aramaic words, pardon me, for it, and that's Ruka Dekudsha. So I invite Ruka Dekudsha to incline me toward healing. And that blank is blank so that someone might choose to call it the higher power or the superconscious or this, whatever you choose to use. We suggest that you try that Aramaic term, Ruka Dekudsha, and then there's several things we suggest you ask for. You're inviting literally the super processor. Having canceled the goal, you collapse the projection, you collapse the perception. And then you're asking this power, now that you've collapsed that, you've opened a gateway, you're asking this power to go into that deeper part of your mind. So the several things we suggest you ask for are to incline me toward healing, to restore me to my newborn state love, to heal my denial and capacity to generate guilt, and then help me open a direct conscious relationship with and gently remove the dissociated and projected parts of my carbon-based memory. So how about going ahead and inviting that power to go to work in you?
I invite Ruka Dakutsha to incline me toward healing, to restore me to my newborn state, love, to heal my denial and the capacity to generate guilt and shame, which were in number 1C. And
okay.
Help me to open a direct, conscious relationship with and remove the dissociated and projected parts of my carbon-based memory.
And then breathe with that. And as you breathe, how do you feel?
I feel relief. Yeah, I feel relief. Like
okay, so you fill that in as blank and number 6. I now feel relief. Go ahead.
Yeah, yesterday I wrote, I now feel closer to the truth and hopeful.
Okay, so that's what you're seeing is I'm closer to the truth and hopeful. So that's number 6. I feel relief. And about 1B, see that I'm closer to the truth and hopeful. That's awesome.
Okay, all right. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's where that would go. Okay. All right.
So the insight is moving into deeper parts of your own mind. That's right on task. And then I asked to be shown how I violated number 3. So if you look back, and of course this worksheet is on self, so you'd be looking at other places where you violated integrity with yourself. And, you don't need to do confession. We don't need for you to share that. But if there's anything to put in that blank of other times when you see, like once you've got this file open, oftentimes you'll see in other areas that are linked to this. And this is a place that down.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you want me to say something or?
If there's anything, sure. Otherwise, if you want to just just keep it private, that's up to you. But if you've ever see other places where you violated integrity with yourself?
Just I violated staying connected and committed to myself because, or I never knew how before, and it's okay to feel my rage and release it. Those were things that came through.
Okay, good. Okay, and then the last step in the process is you want to, and we're down to just a minute or so, the last step in the process is you want to create a new goal toward yourself. So number 7, the principle of the universe is that by giving, I first get the original. I acknowledge us, including yourself in there, for choosing truth and perfect love. I choose to structure a truly loving goal based on number 3, which would be toward myself, and number 1A, and seeing as how you're doing this worksheet on yourself, you'd speak to yourself as though you were a third person. What is it you're willing to offer yourself here?
Okay, I wrote, I offer to you, Julie, that we can be restored to true connection, and we are fully able to maintain a strong and true commitment to ourselves.
Awesome. Right on track. And so that's the completion of the worksheet process. Now there is a
true connection, and we are fully able to maintain a strong and true commitment to ourselves.
Awesome. Right on track. And so that's the completion of the worksheet process. Now there is in the second little box on the right, I commit to having a human life, to living as love. To help achieving this, I do a mass canceling of all the times I wanted number 3 from someone. So you want to look through your life at all the times. Gee, I wanted Mom to honor me and be there for me. I wanted Dad to. I wanted my big sister to be there and honor me. I wanted my spouse, my children, whoever, and then go in and cancel those goals. And it is the completion of the show. Thank you for calling in, Julie. Have an awesome day, everybody, and the best year yet of your eternal life. Take care. Bye-bye.